was an act of terror, and a particularly cowardly act of terror aimed at innocent civilians, aimed at people going about their lives who had no idea of what was about to hit them.
This is a Fox News alert. Terror has hit New York City again. At least 8 people are dead so far after an attack that authorities describe, as you heard there from the mayor, as an act of terror. A man driving a truck down a busy bicycle path near the World Trade Center Memorial. After plowing over runners and bike riders, this man hopping out of a truck yelling "Allah Akbar," according to police. The driver was shot by police on the scene and is now in custody, being treated. Correspondent David Lee Miller is down on the scene of this attack. David Lee.
Brett, authorities still trying to figure out exactly what happened here, but this was an act of terror. It began a little after 3 o'clock. We talked to one of the witnesses who was on the scene at the time. His name, Tawhid Kabir. He was afraid for his life, but he wasn't so afraid that he didn't pick up his cell phone and record the video you're now about to see. This video shows the man believed to be the perpetrator running through the streets on the west side of Manhattan. According to witnesses, he had in his hands 2 guns. Authorities now believe that they were a paint gun and or a BB gun. Moments after this video was recorded, the perpetrator was shot in the leg by police. He is now being treated at Bellevue Hospital here in New York City. At this hour, we are told that at least 8 people were killed and as many as a dozen were injured. Apparently, this individual got behind the wheel of a rented car, a car that was rented from Home Depot, and he began to drive along a bike path, entering the bike path, for those who know New York, along Houston Street. He then began to drive south, and then he exited Houston Street on Chambers Street. That's the street we are now on, and it was here that he apparently got out of that vehicle after hitting a school bus, slightly injuring a number of people on that bus, and began to run through the streets. And that's when you saw the video recorded a short time ago when the gunman was shot by authorities. According to a number of reports, this individual was 29 years old, and he shouted out "Allah Akbar" at the time of the incident. He has been described as being of Middle Eastern descent. And let me show you live here, Brett, the scene here in Lower Manhattan, just so you can get a sense of what is taking place. This is a mixed area. It is a residential area. There's also a lot of commercial activity. You can see that there is still traffic flowing. It is Halloween. There are many people in the streets, adding another eerie element to what's happening here, wearing costumes. Many of those who were here at 3 o'clock when this tragedy began to unfold thought this possibly might have been some type of Halloween prank. That was not to be the case. The mayor of the city of New York saying this action was intended to break our spirit, but the city of New York saying that the Halloween parade, slated to take place not very far from this location, is going to take place as scheduled, but with significantly more security. And lastly, Brett, as you pointed out, this is an area that has dealt with acts of terror in the past. We are about half a mile or so from the World Trade Center, so many people here still very much on edge, despite the fact this incident took place at 3 o'clock, now a little more than 3 hours after the attack. Nerves still very much on edge. This now as authorities continue their investigation, but at this hour, at least 8 dead. The perpetrator, believed to be a lone wolf, 29 years old, now in police custody, recovering from a gunshot wound. Brett?
David Lee, quickly, we heard from authorities there in that news conference in New York that, as you mentioned, the Halloween parade is continuing on, but the presence on the street will be significant. Obviously, authorities don't believe there is a current threat ongoing. Otherwise, they would have done something more than they're doing now with this Halloween parade, etc.
That's right. Authorities believe this was a lone wolf, but there is an abundance of caution here. And you can take a look down the street here, and this is Chambers Street. The incident took place about 2 blocks down this street. It is still sealed off. There's still a very heavy police presence here, and I suspect it's going to remain that way for the next several hours. An increased security present not just here, but in other parts of New York City as well after this attack at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Brett?
David Lee, thank you.